Right, folks, I'm Elijah, and this is the What Are You All About podcast. In this podcast, we kind of try and talk about what are people all about and what is the story behind that. So today we have Hope Through Grace, which is a Christian hardcore band from England. John is the drummer and Joe is the vocalist, and currently that's kind of what the lineup is. So that was a lot of fun. If you guys are into metal, I've got a wee Christian metal YouTube channel called Elijah JP Metal. Check that out if that's your thing. If it's not, that's fine. For a lot of people, it's not. But this podcast isn't just going to be about people in the metal world. I'm going to try and do different things. But anyway, let's get into this.
Right, I'm Elijah, and we have the folks from Hope Through Grace, John and Joe.
What's going on?
Yo.
So this is the first episode, so it'll be very interesting to see how this goes. And kind of the idea behind the podcast is asking people what they're about and what's the story behind that. And you guys are a band, so clearly you guys have got a message. So yeah, kind of what are you guys all about, and what is the story behind that?
Oh.
All right, dude. Yeah. Well, it's a good question.
Yeah.
First of all, thanks for having us. We really appreciate
Welcome.
that. Your first guest. So, it's exciting, man. Excited to see how
we
how
apologize
this,
in advance. Just so you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So, Joe, what are we about?
Donuts.
Great answer.
Of course. I'm just being real, man. That's quite a in-depth question. It's kind of weird. So when the band started, it was very much just a case of I'm sorry, you can probably hear my family in the background and a crazy pug. But when we started, it was very much just a group of guys who either had played metal or had an interest in metal, and it was just kind of like an itch that we wanted to scratch and like play music together. So we kind of initially just got together for a jam just for fun, and then realized, oh, there's something here. And then as things kind of went on, with me and John being Christian, we kind of were like, so the lyrics I initially wrote, they weren't, well, the lyrics we still have, they're not initially like, they're not really like strong Christian lyrics, so to speak. They're not, how can I put this? You'd think for the person who writes the lyrics, they'd be really good with words, but no, it's totally opposite. It's kind of like I didn't want to put too much of my faith onto the other guys at the time who were in the band who weren't Christian. So it was kind of like the lyrics, whilst there was Christian meaning to them, it wasn't in your face, like Saint worship was. And it's kind of, as things have gone down the line, me and John have both basically just gone, oh, so God's basically saying, don't worry about that, just go, go. So and that's kind of, I guess, one way to put it. I'll pass to John because John has words and is good with words.
The irony in that.
I know.
I think that, like what Joe said, that the first point of call, it was just us. It was like four guys having a jam session, like seeing what came out. And suddenly it was like, yeah, we've got these two songs that we've written. They're the two songs that we've released. And it was like, oh, actually, maybe there is something to this. And so we went to the pub afterwards, and we sat down and we kind of discussed, where we wanted to take this and if it was like something to pursue. And Tom, our bass player, bless him, he's having a kid with his girlfriend, and so after we released our first single, oh no, it was way before that, wasn't it? Actually, it was.
It was before that. It was when we decided, oh, okay, we got these songs. Let's run with it and see what happens. And he kind of realized very quickly as we started to do that, he was like, whoa, this is kind of picking up a bit too much traction. I don't think I can actually commit to you guys enough, which is fair enough. It wasn't the case of you guys suck. It was just kind of like, I'm not in a place in my life where I can commit to what you guys are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then after that, after we released our first single, Rowan, our guitarist and producer who produced both our tracks for us, he was in a difficult position at the time with work and stuff like that because he's a live sound engineer and a producer, and obviously with the corona situation, there was nowhere for him to work, so he had to get other work to make ends meet. And so with Tom and Rowan both not being Christian and walking away from the band, it left that road open for Joe and I to say, you know what, this is what we want to pursue. We want it to be about God. We want our music to reflect our faith and our lyrics to come across like that as well. And so that's kind of where, I think that hopefully answers your question. What are we about?
Yeah.
We initially were just a band that were jamming, released a couple of singles, and are now in the process of releasing music that displays our faith, I guess.
Yeah. So with new songs coming out, is that going to be anytime soon?
Oh, we hope so.
Yeah.
We really, really hope so. We're. Can I say? I'm just gonna say anyway.
I think
we're allowed to say we're pushing to get a EP finished by the end of this year.
Right.
So can I? It's kind of like we've got like. So we've got like 4 songs that have got at least half of the song written,
right,
and 1 song that has just got the lyrics. And it's, I guess, the good news is, and this is like another amazing thing that God does, is since everything's been lifting with COVID, Rowan's been in a better situation and we've got back in contact with him, and he's basically said, I'm down to help you guys finish these songs and actually get more music out there.
And I think the most exciting part is we can't announce where until they do, but we've actually just booked our first show in November.
Right.
Yes.
Rowan is going to come and play guitar for us at these shows. We're hoping we might do a couple more before the year's out, but we've got at least 1 show officially 100% confirmed. And so our aim now is we've got the first 2 songs. We're going to write another 4 or 5 songs and release a 5-track EP and hit the world with 7 fully written songs and maybe a couple of surprises thrown in there as well.
Right.
But
okay.
I think we should keep that a secret, Joe.
Keep those surprises close to our chest. Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with the members, how exactly is that working? Like right now, are you guys just the 2 official members, but you'll get people for live when you need to, basically?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of. So the best way to describe it, it's. I had this prophecy said over me a while ago, which actually I'm not even sure if I told you this, John. But basically, it was this guy came to like the church I was at the time, and said to me, like he sees me walking through the desert, and as I'm walking through the desert, people will start following me, but it won't happen instantly. It'll be like people will jump on one by one, and it's kind of like with this band, what kind of happened was when COVID hit, it almost had like a reset, and it's just me and John, and now it's kind of like things are happening, and I think it's going to slowly, people are going to start joining, and when I say joining, I mean actually being prepared to kind of, I guess, it makes it sound like a marriage, but I guess it kind of is a marriage.
Isn't that what all musicians say? Like,
That's true. Yeah.
that band like being married to 4 dudes without the fun parts. So
But yeah, so as people are ready to make that commitment, they will, you know, become part of it. And even then, I guess the good part of like us two being the only two kind of official members, and having basically a lot of our friends and people who want to come and play with us, is it gives us a chance to kind of minister to our own band, which is quite a unique thing to do, I think.
Yeah.
John's deep in thought there, I can see.
Yeah, no, because I think that's kind of what has happened, where we Joe and I were hanging out with a friend of ours, and it became like a social Zoom call once a week that developed into a 3-man Bible study. And then that became a, hey, can I join your Bible study? Hey, can I join your Bible study? And now we meet on Monday nights, and there's about 7 or 8 regulars that come to this Bible study, and it's just the Hope Through Grace is becoming its own animal. Initially, it was just like a jam session, and now it's like this family and network of just people that are like-minded, and
a bit more than the band almost as well. It's kind of like things are here, there, and everywhere. It's not just the music and like playing music. It's kind of like there are connections everywhere, which is awesome. Like, never really thought of it would happen like that at all. But poof.
Hey, Elijah, I have a question for you, my dude.
Okay.
So, with this being your first podcast,
yes,
what are your aims for it? What are you wanting to get out of this?
I think originally the idea was kind of to get people to understand where people are coming from with different things, but I think also just as humans, we want to hear stories about people, and there's a lot of cool stories that people won't hear unless you drag someone into a podcast. So I think
very true.
That's
very true.
Kind of why I wanted to start it. So I've got another very story related question. How did you guys get into metal? Because that's not something that just happens. There's always some sort of a story behind that.
That pink haired fella right over there. Him.
Okay. If I'm the cause of all this, I guess I gotta tell my story, huh?
Yeah.
So when I was at school, I didn't have such a good time. I was quite bullied quite a lot, and one day I was taking this art class for GCSEs, and the art class was a little bit different than the other kind of lessons that we do, because there was only 8 of us, and our teacher was really awesome. She would like let us play music, and there was a goth kid in our art class called Lee, and one day he started playing a Korn CD, and I was just like, what is this? But the very first song I ever heard by Korn was Twist was the very first Korn song I ever heard. And so when like Jonathan Davis does that, like I'm not gonna try it, but he does like the beatboxing beginning of the album, and I was like, this is incredible. And so he lent me the album, and the more I listened to it, the more I found a kind of like there was an aggression, from being hurt and being, through the stuff that Jonathan went through. And there was just a real anger in the music, and I just connected with that because that's how I felt at the time. And of course, the church told me it was evil and satanic, and but some churches, they don't, they're caught in how they do things, and I think, it's not that I'm saying churches need to be more open, but I do feel that there's, that if stuff is slightly different to the norm, it kind of terrifies people. And but then I made the amazing discovery of Christian metal in the form of the band Zao, when they were Christian, because they declare they're not Christian anymore, but when they were in the early it was late 90s when they first started. But so I then it was like, that was a whole new world that was like, wow, Christians can perform metal. And I just started getting into the scene locally where I used to live in Swindon, and just found a family in that scene. But it was a family of a bunch of hurting kids that had no home or family for themselves. And so that's kind of where that came from. And in 2004, I started a Christian heavy metal band called Rising from Death. And 4 years later, Joe joined as our bass player at the age of 15. So
at 15 years. So that's kind of where I came in with to well, I suppose I was always into it a little bit because of, we should probably mention, John's older than me, so I can't really say this, but John has known me since I was born.
Right.
Like to go it like, John's parents are the ones that introduced my parents to each other. So our families are like, we've known, there's, but to me and John, we're basically like, I see John more as my older brother than I do a friend. He like literal, like, to the sense that his mum considers me like her grandchild, I think she said, or something like that, wasn't it?
Basically,
Yeah. So
that was the thing. Like when your mum was, I think she was like 14 or 15. My parents fostered her for a little bit, and so when Joe's mum was going to, my parents started a youth group and a Bible study, and then Joe's mum and dad met at this Bible study, and so it's all.
So I've known John, or rather John's known me, thank you words, since I was born. So I kind of like, just growing up with them, that's where I kind of got into metal music, really.
Yeah.
So it's all his fault. Blame him. To be fair, I kind of drifted off and found my own stuff, like, because you those guys are very much hardcore based, and I was kind of like, I'm not angry enough for hardcore. I'm gonna stick over here. I'm gonna have some melody, and I'm gonna stick with my metalcore and sit my little metalcore bubble over here, whilst you guys have an angry party.
But that's that's really gives our band such a unique sound. So like, Rowan comes from a more pop punk indie type background. Joe comes from quite a melodic metalcore background, and I come from the angry, just pissed off at the world, terror, hate breed, type era. Just this beautiful mishmash of hardcore, metalcore, and I guess some elements of pop punk and indie, and it's just
it'll be interesting to hear pop punk elements in a song at some point, if you ever do that. But
there Are we allowed to talk about the kind of vein of where we're going, Joe?
Why not? Cat's out of the bag now. Don't matter.
Yeah.
If it doesn't turn out to be, if
So-
it doesn't turn out to be like that, just say John's a liar anyway. It's fine. We'll
Yeah.
blame it on John. He's a drummer. That's what he's supposed to do. You
So-
blame it all on the drummer.
I'm also
I
a
think
drummer.
one of the things that really. Oh, sorry. I think
I
had
said
a
I'm
delay there.
also a drummer.
One of the things
I
that
play
really
drums in
kind
another
of,
band, so
Okay,
I mean, don't
you're
kill me.
allowed to say that. Yes.
Yeah. I get blamed all the time in my other band, so I'm just passing it on to John now.
Okay. Anyway, keep going, John.
Sorry, yeah, carry on, John. We derailed you there.
No. You derailed me, and then my internet went, and I'm like, I was talking, and now they're talking, and now I don't know what's going on.
You were saying something about the direction you guys are going as a band.
Yeah. So a lot of our influences are from so many different genres and styles that we thought it'd be quite cool to experiment with some stuff. And one of our influences for one of our songs we're currently writing is something completely different. And I don't think either Joe or I have experimented in this particular genre, but we're going to have a look at some kind of rap, kind of new metal type sound for
Okay.
yeah,
Like a heavier POD type thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
that'd be
Yeah.
interesting. Because when that's done well, it's really good. It's just rap is a very interesting.
Yeah,
genre.
that's why it's a little bit. We'll see how that goes and whether it
Yeah.
works or not. But that is
Yeah.
the yeah.
If you guys could get that to work, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things is like when you listen to Opinions and when you listen to Mountains, they're two totally different songs and styles. And the third song that we've almost finished writing, Forgiveness, is again a completely different style. In fact, it's in drop A, so it's just way heavier than anything we've written. So yeah.
Longer, hopefully longer. I really hope we get to write this one longer.
Yeah, like you can tell there's a hardcore influence because of the song length.
Yeah, that's John's fault. No.
It kind of is, but also we seem to be stuck at getting past 2 minutes 30 seconds on any song at the moment. So yeah, I don't know why.
It's like we go past 3 minutes and we just have a meltdown like instantly. It's like, what? No, no, 3 minutes 12 seconds.
So for you two guys, did you guys just grow up in the church and you kind of accepted Jesus that way, or did you guys have like a very distinct moment where you became Christians, or what does the beginning of your faith journey look like?
It's kind of weird because it's kind of like when you grow up in the church, which we did.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily. It's not the same. Like other people who kind of find God through, rough life or whatever. Yeah. It's similar, but nothing like it at all. Because it's kind of like we find God in our own way, but it's more a case of we're aware of everything that goes on, and then it's kind of like just as you grow older, there'll be something that happens, and then it's like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even I guess the best way to put it for me would be when I joined Rising from Death when I was 15. That was kind of when things started to click for me.
Yeah.
With God.
Can you describe what exactly clicked for you there?
I don't know. It was it's like imagine if you keep like you do something so much that it just becomes like muscle memory for you to do it, and then all of a sudden, as you're doing it, it becomes completely different and means completely different things, and it's like your eyes are like wide open to everything that's going on. It's kind of like that, which makes no sense because there's multiple stories of me in RFD where I was oblivious of anything. But yeah, it's yeah, that's kind of the best description I could find for my experience with what happened.
Fair enough.
So
Probably different, John, but yeah.
I just totally had to flip my internet over because you guys cracked out and I was just like, I don't know what anyone's saying at the moment. So I just put the internet on my phone. So
we were just basically, you know, saying how much of a bad drummer you are, John, and how terrible you are.
I'm perfectly aware without you announcing it to the world. No, for me, it's been a journey of I kind of made the decision to follow Christ when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I got baptized when I was like 11, and so I've grown up in church, but kind of, I guess, piggybacking off my parents' faith quite a lot. But there's always been a deep connection to God, and I've always, I've always considered myself a Christian. There wasn't like a time when I was kind of falling away from God, but obviously, as any Christian, you have your ups and downs. And but in 2016, no, it was earlier than that. 2013, I think. Yeah, 2013. I was at a Christian metal conference called Meltdown, and my now good friend Tommy Green from the band Sleeping Giant, he was preaching at Meltdown, and he preached a sermon that I've grown up in the church, I've heard countless sermons, but I'd never heard this before, and it was talking about how it was talking about Matthew, the book of Matthew, where the most important commandment is spoken by Jesus. And the guy's like, well, how do I enter the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus is like, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And Tommy described it as like, that is the key to Christianity. Those two things, love God and love your neighbor. And everything else, so you kind of go to church and they're like, oh, you shouldn't steal, shouldn't swear, shouldn't lie, shouldn't do this and that. And actually what the church don't teach you is, or in my experience, the church haven't taught me that it's like these are elements of your life that will be an outworking of loving God and loving your neighbor. So if you love your neighbor, you're not going to steal from them. You're not going to lie to them. You're not going to do this and that and the other. And actually, like, the fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. Thanks, Children's Church. The fruits of the Spirit are literally that. They're a fruit of planting yourself in God and loving God and loving your neighbor. And so I'd heard this, and it was like it flipped my Christianity on its head. The things that I'd been trying to do. So like for years, I've been trying to read the Bible, and I just failed every time. And then suddenly, after this, the Bible held so much value to me, and I've actually read the Bible cover to cover 7 times now, and I'm on my eighth time round, and it's. And before that, it was just a struggle to get into it. And suddenly, I think things that you held dear, you kind of let go of, like trying to look the right way or whatever. And things that you didn't necessarily think about or consider important have now got a new importance on them. And so that for me, it's been a journey. I apologize. We are like rinsing. we are going the long way around to answering your questions, but
no, it's good. if you just had like 3 sentence answers, then it would suck as a podcast. So
Touche.
It's
Yeah.
true. That's very true.
So in which case, you're welcome.
And out goes any humility that John had. Just thrown away. He came in all professional and all kind of like pastor-like, and then it was like, nope.
Nope.
No, amazing.
Yeah.
That's it. Just
Zoom wants to cut us for time.
Well, if we need to, we can like fall back or whatever.
Yeah, we can.
part 2.
We'll have a massive clunk in
Yeah.
the middle of the podcast. Yeah, I really love how you put that loving God and your neighbor are the basics, and everything else kind of stems from that. Like for me, I'm a pastor's kid, so I
Yeah.
kind of grew up knowing all the stuff, and
Same. We're all pastors' kids.
So for me, like, I think I had a very real experience that there was a supernatural. Like, I'm from Canada, so Native American stuff is all over the place, and sometimes when I was around some of those things, I would notice something in my gut was off and stuff. And I think for me, God was someone who I could pray to, and he would help me with things like that. But I think for him to really be kind of what he is now to me, like the relationship I have now, that probably only like really started to come together when I was 11, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I think, and also through community that really pushes you towards God, that's something that has kind of really helped me to get closer. And I think often when you grow up in the church, you're not quite confident that you've been saved. I'm not sure if you guys would relate to that, or
Absolutely, 100%, like 100%.
But for me, kind of once I really got into community with people who are passionate about Jesus, it's like I felt like I could be really confident that I'm saved, and yeah, so
I'm gonna be that one dick that's like, yeah, I've known I'm saved since I was a kid. But the kid, I've definitely been on a humbling journey that realizing that, you know, from the age of 7, I am super old now. I'm 37. So from the age of 7 up until can't remember when 2013 was. What was that? 9 years ago? No, 10. No, 8.
No. You're getting closer. It was like 8.
Yeah. So
8
like
years ago.
8 years ago. So when I was like from then up until the age of 29, I thought I had it worked out. And at the age of 29, like my theology absolutely got flipped on its head. And so, although I've also always known, you know, I'm always been confident in being saved, I'm now even more confident in how I'm walking that out and like how to do it well.
I think that's the thing as well with people who are brought up Christians. It's almost a little bit harder to kind of I don't know, stay in faith maybe, because it's kind of like when you have people that have kind of come into Christ from like having like a hard life, or like, you know, something from the outside world has brought them into Christ. It's kind of like they've almost instantly had like that rock bottom in the outside world, not knowing Jesus, and then boom, straight away there's Jesus, there's everything. Whereas when you're brought up knowing everything, it's almost like it's a harder struggle to kind of try and find that encounter, because you're kind of like you see everything going around, and you know what it looks like and what, you know, it should be, and you're like, is this right? Am I doing it right? Am I actually having an encounter with God, or am I just copying what I'm seeing? And yeah, so then when you do actually, you know, God kind of finds you, taps you on the shoulder and goes, hello, you're kind of like, you're like, oh, this is, oh wow, okay.
Yeah, like for me, I think I was probably 12. There's a thing here in Scotland called Fire Starters, which is great. It's like a Christian youth weekend where we go into a church, we do worship, outreach, ministry, and also have a lot of fun. And anyway, so we were doing prophetic stuff there. And I think for me, when I kind of started realizing that I could hear from God well, for me, that was kind of that really strengthened my connection and kind of experience of God, because on the one hand, you like reading the Bible helps so much and it refreshes your mind and spirit, but at the same time we need to have things that happen so it's not all dull.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's the thing as well. You kind of when people come in from the outside world and find God and then kind of like go through that journey, they've had life experience. They've kind of like they've lived all of that stuff. They've kind of sinned it up, as it were, and then kind of met with God. Whereas the church kids, you go through kind of like there almost feels like a separation sometimes.
Yeah.
I think, and then so then when you hit adulthood, there is a massive learning curve, because it's suddenly like, hey, my parents can't tell me what to do anymore, and then it's like this is generally where they this like goes downhill, and then yeah, but that's kind of what I've experienced. And although like personally experience hasn't been quite as severe as some other people I know, that are no longer Christian, but because it's kind of like strict upbringing, I think hasn't necessarily helped. But yeah.
But also on the bright side, the one thing non-Christian kids didn't get is VeggieTales.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh my gosh.
VeggieTales is like
We've been on a VeggieTales binge for the last few weeks. Like it's been so good.
Yeah, have you guys heard of the band True Shot and any of the reactions? This is related in a weird way.
I don't think I have.
Okay, so anyway, they do a lot of reaction stuff, and I was listening to a interview that they were doing with Mike Felker from Convictions, and he was saying that, well, he's not a Christian. He grew up with the Christian family and actually watched VeggieTales. So there's a minority of non-Christians who did grow up with VeggieTales and did not miss out on that.
Oh,
that's amazing. We need to find that.
I think just for you, Elijah, it might be wise to just like pin it there, and then because what we'll do when you hang up, it kind of saves the meeting.
Yeah.
And then once that's saved, if you want to give us a shout, and then we'll jump back in if you want. I think it might be
great. Zoom is forcing us to have a comfort break, so
yeah, I'm gonna spray myself.
We'll be back after these short messages.
Yes, I'll put some elevator music here. If you're listening to this on audio, John is spraying himself with a water bottle right now. So.
It's so hot today.
It's ridiculously hot. Anyway.
I'll have a hot here. I can't.
Yes, folks, we will be back soon enough.
Yeah.
Do you guys hear the creepy AI voice? Recording in progress.
Yeah. This meeting is being recorded.
Yes. Like brother is watching you, and John is spraying himself in the face with water.
He has a hot ear.
I got a hot ear. No, the thing is, right? Okay, so we're recording this podcast. And England, for some bizarre reason, doesn't believe in air conditioning. So I am being a nice guy, and my fan is not currently rotating at 1,000,000,000 miles an hour, so I need to stay cool by spraying myself in the face with a water bottle.
Yeah. Aye.
And I get a hot ear.
Like in Scotland, they do not expect it to be warm. So the one year it was really warm. First off, I was away back in Canada, which was kind of sad. And second off, the roof of the Glasgow Science Center actually melted because they did not expect it
Oh,
to get that hot. So
Duh. I need to
So,
Google that. I want to see pictures of this. This sounds awesome.
it's like the faux pas that they made in London with there's a building called the Walkie Talkie, and when they built it, it's got like, it literally looks like a giant walkie talkie, and it's got like a curved front. And when they built it, they hadn't taken into consideration the type of glass on these curved windows, and it actually reflected the sun and melted the paint off a Jaguar underneath it. They'd like goes down the building, and I believe it cost them about 13 million to replace all of the windows, because they had like basically a giant death ray, and yeah, and
They should have just painted a block saying, "Don't park here if you want to keep your paint." Like,
it cost
wouldn't
them
that just been
50 quid.
cheaper? Like,
entire flush like London street with just like this one blob of burn mark in there.
Yeah.
Don't stand here if you don't want to die.
Like in 50 years, there'd be a hole to China right there.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. It's like, what? Yeah, but it has the nickname the Walking Scorchy after that.
It'd be great for like screen effects, because then you'd just be like, you could have like a table there and be like, I expect you to die, Mr. Bond, and you just have to push the table further and further into this light.
Yeah. But then you might have some serious hospital visits after that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be worth it though.
Yeah, it's true. Plus, think of the money you'd save on the like, paying for the hospital, like paying for I guess it'd be being sued or paying for special effects, which is more pricey.
I think it evens itself out. I think, yeah.
Special
Exactly,
effects
see?
is not that expensive, though healthcare in Scotland is free.
True. There you go.
To a
There
large
we go.
degree. Well, I think it is in England too, to some degree,
Yeah.
if I understand it correctly. So it's, yeah.
They cover laser burns just under a subcover somewhere.
Americans are listening to this thinking, what luxury do these folks live in?
Yeah.
Americans are like, what? They get to go to hospital for free laser burns? What?
Well, first you have to get one, but
That's true. just stand at that spot underneath the walkie-talkie building. You'll be fine.
We're forgetting the key element here, that they've replaced the window, so it's no longer
Yes.
it's no longer the walkie scorchy. So
yes, you would have to get a time machine too.
yeah.
Unless we can get them to re-spend the money to put the windows back again.
What happened to all of that glass? Do you reckon they just melted it down and put it into other windows?
That would be ironic.
More death traps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elijah, you said you're from Canada. Like whereabouts in Canada? You're from?
British Columbia on Vancouver Island specifically.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Have you ever been to Canada ever?
Yes, sir, but we don't talk about why. No, I once dated a Canadian. The relationship didn't end well, and midway through the relationship, we got matching tattoos, which I now need to cover up. So the irony is that the tattoo says, "Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate." So
Yeah.
yeah,
But a little too early.
yeah,
A little premature with that one.
yeah.
Just a tad.
No, but I tell you what, I love Canada. It's a beautiful country.
Mhm.
I went to stay in Banff.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and Alberta, and we had some Alberta steak, and oh my gosh, that has to be like probably the best steak I've had is Alberta.
I have
Yeah.
never been to Canada.
I
So
They've got like half the population of the UK, but it's like the second largest country by landmass. So
I
you
know,
just
good.
get loads of people spread out. So they actually have space to have lots of force and things. It's great.
And there's me with like looking out my bedroom window at my flat in the East End of London, with just tower block, tower block, tower block, tower block, and then there's Canadians like, we're okay, we can just with their flappy head and stuff. And
I mean, there's cities too in Canada, but they're just more
Yes.
spread out.
yeah,
Yeah.
the flappy hat and stuff.
sorry, I had to pull in a South Park reference somehow. Like
Yeah.
I made a poor joke and then realized that Elijah's in fact Canadian, so I apologize.
I am really refraining from making South Park impressions right now, but because I could just go off on a tangent, but I won't because it's trying to stay focused, which is something I should never say.
Anyway, we should like stop talking and let Elijah ask a question.
Okay, so one question that I've got for you guys is what are you guys gonna do with your YouTube channel? Because I know you did one reaction and it was great, but are you gonna continue to do? You also did an unboxing, so do you guys have plans for this or?
Oh, I believe an hour ago we dropped some news relating to the YouTube channel.
Okay, I missed this completely. So
Yeah, so so basically, so this you've asked a question that has a ton of rabbit trails. So we're gonna go on some rabbit trails. So with the YouTube channel, the content, the idea behind the content is that we're quite a niche type band. We're metalcore genre. There are going to be hundreds of thousands of people that like metalcore, but we might not necessarily reach those hundreds of thousands. But then there is a vast world out there, and so our concept behind the YouTube channel was that we're going to do some reaction videos because I just love reaction videos. I can watch them all the time, and so we've done that. We did that one unboxing video. That was fun. That American Candy was so good.
It was okay.
You know what? Whatever.
The ding dongs were nice. I like the ding dongs.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying.
You polished off that ding dong before I was like,
finished talking.
Describing it. Wait, is it gone? What? And what a great name, ding dong. And then we just dropped a trailer. We're going to start a new section, which is going to be gaming, and we've just been filming ourselves playing a ton of PlayStation 4 games. And so the idea is I need to, first of all, pull my finger out and get to it. Because the idea was we were going to release content every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And we released a reaction video and I failed miserably to release extra content. So we're bringing out our first gaming video on Friday this week.
Right.
To see although mind you, by the time this podcast comes out, it's probably not going to be Friday this week. So and then we're gonna concentrate on reaction videos, gaming, and some various other behind the scenes stuff with the idea that we are reaching a far broader audience because people would watch gaming videos, or people might enjoy reaction videos, and just we still want to be reaching people and creating a community.
Also, we're massive nerds, so let's celebrate being nerds. Nerds.
So anyone that's like under the age of 25 is probably like what? So what I just quoted was a movie called Revenge of the Nerds, which is an 80s film where this this big guy, he's hanging a nerd upside down by his feet, and like this huge drop, and he's just like shaking him, and then these two other guys just walk past, and he's like, nerds. Like starts yelling nerds, and they're like these two guys are like looking behind them like, who's he talking to? And he's like, I think they mean us. So like,
yeah, aye.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't think I fit into that category because I'm not the sort of person who is a massive gamer. I'm much prefer to be outside. But
that's cool though.
No, that's exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Go how many steps he does in a day. You two will fit right together.
So okay, I am notorious for wanting to walk everywhere. Like
I'll get into Bristol, ready for band practice.
Yeah.
I've got like massive suitcase, weighs a ton, probably almost literally. And Joe's like, oh yeah, we're gonna walk home. It's only 4.5 miles. It's like only 4.5 freaking miles with this suitcase. And yeah, so that's my life. And Joe just...
I walk a lot, all right? I like to walk.
I'm just picturing you with like a rickshaw filled with your drum kit on your back. Just like no problem.
Oh my,
basically
we should get you a rickshaw. We should do that.
Maybe when I get paid.
Yeah.
We'll construct. Your dad does woodwork. We'll get him to construct you one. It's fine.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. No, I don't mind walking. In fact, I do it for a living. I'm like a tour guide. But like when I don't have to, I don't want to. Joe just literally walks everywhere, and I swear, like loops every now and then, and yeah.
So we started doing the like Conqueror challenges or whatever.
No.
Like they do these like walking challenges where you basically you like get a medal at the end of like doing these challenges and you track it via our app.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, I'll just do the first one, like the lowest one, because it'd be easy. And I actually had to like stop I'd have to like, okay, I can only walk one day this week because that's over half the challenge done in one day.
Like the one I did was like 46 miles, and just to give you an idea of Joe's like.
Yeah. yeah, I would do that in one day. Well, not 46. Well, I don't know. What did I do? I did something nuts. Like I walked for like 6 hours straight, and it was like 16 miles or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, I've done that where there was like cell phone towers, and one day I was like, it's a beautiful day. I'm gonna walk out to them. And I was like, oh, I got out here. How am I gonna get back? Because we're gonna have people over in an hour, and it took me like 3 hours to get there.
Oh no.
So that was exciting. I ended up getting my mom to pick me up, but it was very peace and calming right until I realized that I really needed to hurry back.
Yeah.
That's it, right? So it's like super chill when you go for a walk. Like, and you can plug your music in, and you're in like a whole different world. You just like go listen to your music, and then like an hour and a half later, you're like, oh shoot, I'm like 7 miles away from home, somewhere I recognize.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And the thing for me, right? I was like used to walking. I do a lot of walking. I don't like doing it, but I do it. So I was in Salt Lake City, going to Tommy Green's house, and I was like, oh, it doesn't look too far on the map. I left the house, and like because I was in America, 0 phone signal. So I left the house, started walking, and then I realized, oh wait, that is a lot further. And like I turned up like 3 hours later than after I left, and everyone was like, "Are you dead?" And I'm like, "No, I just walked." Like, because I said, "Oh yeah, I'll be there soon," and then like 3 hours later, I'm still freaking walking there. So
Oh dear, that is great. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like for me, I can relate to walking to somewhere and then realizing how, first off, where am I? And second, how am I gonna get back? So walk to like some obscure part of
Yeah.
like a forest or something and be like, there's not an actual trail here. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if you would ever do that, but
Clifton, for us, where I live in Bristol, there's a place called Clifton, and literally, John will agree with this. All the houses look the same, and all the streets look the same, but it's
Oh
like
yeah.
a huge, like it's an area.
Last
Like,
time I was hanging out with you, you got lost, and I was yeah.
oh, they've got places, they've got streets that are literally the same name, but in the same area and in completely different parts of the same area. And you're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
that
So
is
John was like, "Oh, we're just going to
special.
meet there," and I was like, "Okay." So I go to one spot, and he's like, "Oh no, we're over here." Oh, where do I go to get over there? Oh,
I
yeah.
I just saw your post actually, Elijah. I just added you on Facebook. I saw your post about like when Canada gives up on naming streets. That was funny.
Right.
This
I
street-
forget what that was, but yeah.
Like this street, that street, and
Oh yes, that one. That was beautiful. Yes. I think there's just so much of it with so few people that the creative team is much smaller.
yeah. Oh, that's
They're just like, "Hey, Jeff, your turn to name the street, eh? What that street there? That street there, eh? Yeah, that street. Okay, that street. All right."
I was trying to work out. There was that like an Irish.
I know it kind of did turn to Irish. It was
You
trying
did.
to like French Canadian, but it didn't really work.
There's a part of Canada that's very Scottish influenced, but I don't think there's a part of Canada that's very Irish influenced.
There is now.
If they listen to this podcast,
Exactly.
yeah.
Irish Canadian. There we go. We created a new thing.
Yes.
With your heritage, you said you were born in Canada, right?
Yeah.
How long were you there before you moved over? What's the deal with that?
I moved the week before I turned 10. So
Okay.
I'm 15 now and I'll be 16 soon. So I've been here for quite a wee while. And yeah, with my heritage, my mom's Scottish and my dad's Canadian. So that they met at a Bible college and then moved over to Canada to raise me and my siblings for a while. And then there was a very clear call from God to move to Scotland. And now, at first, my dad got a degree in theology stuff, and now he's pastoring at a church near me. So
Cool.
that's kind of what's happened with that.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. We're just like we're the scummy Brits from Brit.
We're both from the southwest of England. If we were left to our own devices, we'd probably talk a little bit like this. Our parents were right good, and they taught us.
It's like, have you ever seen the film Hot Fuzz?
No, I
Yeah.
don't watch a ton of movies, but
Oh,
explain.
There's this scene where this farmer has a gun, and they go to this farmer's house, and the farmer, like, there's 3 police officers just turning up for this one incident, and like one of them's like a really good, like, posh police officer that's come from London, done really well, and they've chucked him out in the middle of nowhere. And there's another guy, and then there's another guy, and it's like, why are there 3 police officers? And that when they get to the farmer's like, and then 2 of the police officers turn to him, and they're like, what did he say? He's like, he says it's a good one. and Nick Frost is like, oh, he says it's a good one. So like they needed
He's
2
like,
translators.
what? What? He says
Do
the
you have
bomb's
a,
in the
do you have a
shed.
license? Do you have a license for that gun? Is it one? Yes, for that one.
That is great.
Oh,
When I
brilliant.
first came here, I misunderstood so many things because, you know how strong a Glasgow accent is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where I lived when I first came here was like that on steroids. So
Oh,
gosh.
it was hard going to understand people because with Canada, they have an accent, but I like to think that's the most phonetically normal accent, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Then moving there, it was just like, or I'd completely misunderstand what they said and then respond to what I thought they said, and they'd be so confused.
I think I did that today actually with someone. I just like they got their mask on, so it's like and I'm like, yes. You're so British, just pretend to know what they said, and yeah. And they're like they look funny, like, oh, you didn't say that at all.
Yeah, that's such a British thing to just like politely try and keep the conversation going.
Pretend that you've heard and don't, if you ask, can you say that again, please? And then they repeat, and then you still can't hear, and then you're just like,
yes.
Yes.
Try and read the tone. Do they look like they're angry?
It's like they've got a mask on.
Yeah.
If in doubt, there's always just the.
You're forgetting it's a podcast. They can't see that you're putting your thumb up.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yes. I think I'll try and put it on YouTube, but I'm guessing most people will listen to this, so
yeah, man.
Yeah. Trying to think of another question for you guys.
We've broken now. We've broken Elijah. We've been too stupid and too tangent. That's just how it goes.
That was a great tangent. I was just completely off from where we started. We like went from like talking about the true meaning of Christianity to just crazy.
I need to apologize, and for anyone that's listening, and for anyone that wants to talk to us in the future, just realize that we are idiots in a band.
Yes.
I kind of know what we're doing. Kind of know about Christianity. I kind of okay at it, but realistically, just once the theology stuff like we've kind of rinsed out, we're just idiots. So
yeah. Okay, so I've thought of a question for you guys. You guys clearly are charismatic Christians that kind of believe in the gifts of the Spirit, like prophecy and stuff like that. So for you guys, were you brought up with that, or were you guys like, did your theology of that stuff change once you kind of experienced it, or kind of what happened with that?
You want to get this one, Joe? Or
I think I just brought up with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of a. I think certain things, like certain times, someone's prophesied over me. I think there's only 2 times that I've had a prophecy that I've actually kind of taken note of, and something's kind of happened. Like one time I mentioned before, and another time it happened when I was in church. Someone called me out by name, which was another thing that was kind of like, whoa. And basically what happened is I ended up going on a mission trip to Macedonia that I never thought I was going to, and I ended up joining the mission trip, I think about like less than a month before they were due to head out.
Right.
And just encountered God in ways I didn't even imagine were possible when I was out there.
Okay, do you want to explain a bit of that? Because it sounds like there's a lot.
So yeah, basically it was kind of at a time, it was after Rising from Death had ended. I was in various jobs, just feeling a bit kind of downtrodden, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of like just feeling a bit pessimistic about the world as it is. And then this mission trip's going on at the church that I'm going to, and my dad's always like, "Oh, you should come along. You should come along." And I'm like, I don't feel like it. I don't think I'm, in my head I was like, I'm not with it with God. It's not. I don't think it's right for me to do. And then as I'm in church, this woman who was renowned for having prophecies and like prophetic words for people stands up and starts saying, she goes, "Oh, I got a prophetic word for someone. Is there someone called Joe around here?" And of course, my instant reaction is, "Please, someone else be called Joe. Please, 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 please." And then of course, my mum next to me, she's like, taps me on the shoulder, goes, "It's you. He's here." Thanks, Mum. Thanks. So so I stand up, and this woman says, the prophetic word she has for me is, God wants to use you for great things. He has great things for your future. He says, and all you have to do is not be afraid to take any opportunity that comes at you. And at the time, of course, I was very much in the mindset of, no, I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I can't do this. So it was kind of like, at that moment, God was saying, stop saying no, start saying yes. And that's what I've done ever since then. And so I said yes to this mission trip. I went out there and I made a connection with the youth group that were out there. I still have a connection with this kid, and it was weird because out there, like, metal's kind of a big thing. Like, they're big into Metallica and they're big into kind of like heavy metal stuff. Like, so much so they had like a local festival at the town we were staying in, and there was a metal band playing there. But Christian metal doesn't exist in their world. Like, it can't possibly exist at all. Because they've got like an Orthodox church that kind of runs the country, and they were like the first evangelical Christians out there and stuff like that. But so I basically, made friends with these guys in the youth, and was like, oh yeah, there's POD and there's Skillet, and then there's because this guy was like, I really love Slipknot, and I'm like, oh, you really like Slip? Try this band. They're called Sleeping Giant. Try this band. They're called For Today. And they were like, what is this? But yeah, and certain things have happened, like the last time, because I've been out there twice. We intended to go in 2020, but obviously COVID.
I've been there twice.
Yeah, we've been out there twice. It was the second time, because I remember I messaged you the second time, because that was the time the pastor got ill and couldn't actually come out with us.
Okay.
So they actually, I think there was about 5 people that went out there. Yeah, 5 people. Because I got room to myself, which was great. 5 people, and each one of us was kind of given a day or like an evening or whatever to preach, and I was given the youth group to preach for. And I remember, like, do you not remember I was messaging you going, crap, I gotta preach, like, what do I do? Yeah. And you were probably like, dude, it's 2 a.m. in the UK, go away.
Actually, my sleep pattern, it's probably like 2 a.m. I'm playing Xbox, what?
But yeah, so and yeah, just from then I've just basically been like, when things come at me, usually it's God with something, and I go, okay, let's go, see what happens.
Yeah,
so,
that's great.
I think for me, it's been a little bit not different, because it, like, obviously, like prophetic words and healings and movings of the spirit and everything is just normal.
Yeah.
But for me, I actually remember the transition of attending like an Anglican church when I was a kid, up until about the age of 9 or 10, and then we transitioned to a non-denominational happy happy church, and they very much in the vein of like the Holy Spirit and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think one of the main things I really remember was like I got called out for a couple of prophetic words and stuff, but one of the main things I really remember was I'd been playing rugby, and I managed to dislocate a finger on my hand. The embarrassing omission is we were playing touch rugby and I was substituted. I was on the sidelines throwing the ball in the air, and I caught it funny and it dislocated my finger. There was no like incredible story of like, oh, he got tackled and landed on my finger. No, I was
great.
throwing the ball up in the air and catching it, and it just landed funny and dislocated my finger. Anyway, I ended up going to the hospital and they bandaged up my finger, and it was like bruised, and I couldn't move it. And there was a meeting that we went to, and this guy prayed for my hand, and I went to the bathroom and removed the bandages, and the hand was like there was zero bruising, and I could flex my fingers, and everything was just like completely back to normal. And that was like one of the first kind of healing experiences that I remember. Yeah. And
Yeah.
now,
Basically,
and now we were doing the Bible study, and like I got to pray for a dude last night, and his back got healed from sciatica, and that was pretty cool.
yeah, that was
That
pretty
is
sick.
great.
Yeah. And the fact that it was like over Zoom as well. Like,
Yeah.
it just says zero boundaries for God. So.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, in a nutshell, yeah, we've just basically always grown up with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a roundabout way of saying yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. For me, it was always like a part of the church, but when I came to Scotland, and especially when I joined Firestarters, which I mentioned earlier, it kind of ended up being like what it was before, except on steroids and then some. So it was like, have you guys heard of Glasgow Prophetic Center by any chance?
I don't think I have.
Okay.
No.
Right. Anyway, so they're like a church based in Glasgow, which is very Holy Spirit based. And so I know the boys of the leaders very well. So just kind of with that connection there, being at their church is like, it's still a very Bible based church, but it's like very powerful too. And then at Firestarters, just there's a lot of intentional kind of prophesying and praying over people and praying for things to heal.
Yeah.
Which,
Damn, that sounds awesome.
It
yeah,
does
it
sound.
is.
I'm aware. Obviously, we're coming close to the end of our time, but I think
Yeah.
that thing is like really. I think it's good when a church finds a nice balance between the Word of God and the giftings of the Holy Spirit. I think sometimes, some people can lean too much on tradition and Bible, and it becomes like stagnant, or they don't believe necessarily. Dispensationalists that don't necessarily believe that the Holy Spirit still operates or whatever, and then you get the opposite where it's all giftings and
Yeah.
zero like love for the Word of God, but so it's nice to hear of like that balance. So
Yeah, I think I'm seeing a lot of places which are very much balanced with like the Bible is still valued, but the giftings are also valued. And I think that is something that would be great to see in the church, because I think you either get the view of being like a reformed who thinks the charismatic stuff is bonkers, or like you see a lot of with the charismatic stuff, because it gets so weird, and with anything the weirdest stuff is always what gets represented the most. You see like the craziest things coming from the charismatic space. So I think,
and I think sometimes as well there is a lot of like there can be a lot of skepticism about like where the miracles are coming from and stuff.
Mhm.
But I think as long as that's why I like the idea of a church being grounded in the word of
Yeah.
God. You can kind of like you can see and hear and know that what.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Read all about it and then do it.
Yeah.
Yep,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah. So we're coming to the end here. Is there any things that you guys want prayer for, or like that I can pray for, or people listening
like
to this
this.
can?
I like this. Again, I'm normally the one that asks if we can pray for people, so this is cool. I think just wisdom in our next steps, because we have a vision and a goal, but we want our vision to be rooted and grounded. And we don't want to kind of stray off, and so it'd be good to like have a clear vision on where we're going, what we're doing, and kind of making sure that we are grounded in where God's vision is for the band, rather than like what we would like to do. Because I think sometimes they can be two very different things, although a lot of the time they can be one and the same. So it's just kind of like yeah. So
I think I'm going to take a more don't know what to even say kind of approach. Words again. Basically, I want to pray for the physical health and the mental health of all of us. Not that there's anything wrong with us, but I mean, I've got some issues, some health issues come up within my family that play a part, I guess, towards the mental health and stuff, but also when we come into a point where we get to take the stage again. I know for me, coming from a place where beforehand I've only ever played as, a bassist or a drummer, I'm now taking the front of the stage, and there's a level of anxiety and things like that there that will come into play more and more. So I guess just, prayer for strength in that.
Anyway, this is gonna end really soon, but I think personally, I think we all felt a bit more distant from God over lockdown. I think just that distance would be closed. But yeah, this has been really fun. Thank you for coming on, guys.
Thanks for having us. It was fun. So much fun.
Appreciate that we're the first guests, and sorry we spoiled your podcast.
Yes, we'll have to do it again in a year once I fully know what I'm doing.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Definitely.
Anyway, we're just waiting for this to end. It's like a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
Who's going to blow up first?
Well, there's less than a minute, so...
It's been less than a minute for about a minute, though.
Yeah. No, that started when it got less than 2 minutes. So...
Yeah.
Aye.
All right. Yeah, well, thank you for having us, man.
You're welcome. So Zoom cut us off right there, but that was an absolute blast with the guys from Hope Through Grace. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. If you're into metal, go check out Hope Through Grace's music wherever you listen to music, and hope to see you guys in the next episode of this. And yeah, thank you so much for listening.